If you're like me, you may have been a little groggy waking up this past Monday morning after springing forward for daylight saving time. But that twice-a-year time adjustment may soon be in the past. The Senate yesterday passed a new bill that would make daylight saving time permanent across the U.S., so no more switching your clocks back and forth in the fall and spring. Brian, on a personal level, I love this idea. So did many lawmakers in the Senate. It passed the chamber by unanimous consent, so there is bipartisan support for this. What's your take on this plan?
Yeah, well, so just kind of set the tone here. So daylight saving time would mean that the light comes out later in the morning. So you would need to wait until perhaps 8, maybe even 9 a.m., depending on where you are, for the sun to come out. But that would mean that you would have daylight later into the afternoon/evening. So it would be well past 5 p.m. when the sun goes down, which is a welcome development for the people who get really upset about the sun going down at 4 p.m. During the winter. Now, again, whether or not you prefer these types of things depends on where you are. We were taking a look at some social media reactions. One person joking that whether you prefer standard time or daylight savings time, the duplicitous sun itself hoarding its light while we fight for scraps is the true enemy. Some people having some fun with that one, but some more serious commentary coming from some parents. We saw another tweet that said, if we do make daylight savings permanent, then we should push schools back half an hour or an hour so that it's going to align better with working parents' schedule. That also might be a way to get around having to send your kids onto the school bus in the dark in the morning. A lot of kind of folds here, but, Emily, I just think it's kind of funny because at the end of the day, this isn't giving us more sunlight, right? The sun's still going to have its own schedule, but it just means that we'll be awake for more of it in theory. I think it just kind of shows how arbitrary the workday and the school day starting at X time really is.
Right. And I think we should also point out that there is a health and well-being angle to this as well. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine has backed having one fixed time standard all year and did note that changing the clocks forward and back twice a year disrupts circadian rhythms, people's natural internal sense of night and day and light and dark cycles. So that's why you do get that sort of jet-lagged feeling, or of course I certainly do, when it comes to actually having to spring forward and then falling back twice per year. And of course, there are a couple states that already don't observe daylight saving time. That's Hawaii as well as most of Arizona. So to your point, Brian, there is a certain amount of, there is an arbitrary aspect when it comes to the time aspect of this. We should also point out that even if this bill does pass, we will still have to fall back in November this year. It wouldn't take effect until 2023. But at least coming from what many congressional lawmakers are saying, does seem to be a lot of support for this.
Yeah, I mean, also, you mentioned that not all states observe it right now. I feel like maybe that's the big benefit of doing something like this is that people won't forget to change their clock and then miss a flight. I mean, I had an experience on Sunday because I was flying when we did lose the hour out of Puerto Rico. And I didn't know this, but apparently in Puerto Rico, they don't observe a DST, which really complicated my flight, which was at 4 a.m. I was trying to figure out, wait, this is supposed to kick in at 2 a.m. So I actually ended up almost arriving at my flight 2 hours early instead of right on time. Better than missing the flight, I guess. But again, as you mentioned, all arbitrary. And I guess it just kind of shows that time doesn't really exist. Time's not real.
Right. And again, to that point, too, and this concern about the planes and, of course, the timetables, that is one of the reasons that this bill and this change wouldn't take effect until next year. It's the fact that airplane schedules as well as railway schedules would all have to take about a year since they are planned in advance to actually have time to make that shift. So certainly something to keep an eye on here. The one downside is we won't get that extra hour of sleep when it comes to falling back. But personally, I'm okay foregoing that for the extra daylight waking hours. But we'll see if this gets any more movement on the floor of the House or in the Senate and in Congress overall.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll have to see. Again, that passed the Senate, but it hasn't passed the House yet. We'll see if the House wants to take that up. Could be a dramatic change there. But let's